I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It, episode 60. Remember to subscribe to our podcasts, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
We're talking today, the topic of the show is heart disease. It's not just for old people anymore, because we're exposing our bodies to so many different poisons and toxins and free radicals that the body is trying to respond and keep us alive. And so the body, in its infinite wisdom, does everything it can to survive, and in the process can actually cause damage. So you got to stop putting the stress on the body if you expect to obtain and maintain good health. Now, earlier we talked about free radicals. They're like Pac-Man. They eat through things, and they can oxidize fats. And low-density lipoproteins are easily oxidized. So if you're doing something like if you have low-density lipoproteins, they can oxidize and they can eat away at the endothelial cells of the lining of your blood vessels. We have 62,000 miles of blood vessels in our body, and that can cause problems. So we want to stay away from the saturated fats, the vegetable oils, the polyunsaturated fats. I know we were told those were good for us, and it turns out that they're not. So not a good idea. And again, any processed fat is not a great fat. So olive oils, coconut oils, you could use them, but don't just live off them. That's why I'm concerned about these ketogenic diet folks, because they're maybe eating good fats, but chances are they're also eating the bad fats or heated fats, and that's where the problems come in. But if you have these free radicals, antioxidants neutralize them. And as we get older, we produce more free radicals than we were young, and so it's harder for the body to fight off the free radicals. You need more antioxidants as you get older, not less. Inflammation is linked to arteriosclerosis because the inflammation triggers mass production of free radicals, and that causes the oxidation of the fats. And as you get older, you got to be more careful, not less careful. And so you got to do more antioxidants and less free radical type foods, which are the bad foods: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Right before I went on the air, one of my coworkers, Nick, came up to me and he says, hey, man, I got to check up. Everything's good. He says, cholesterol's a little high. He says, what do you think that is? And I said, well, it's usually too much sugar. His triglycerides were high, the part of the fat. So what happened was, if you eat sugar, the body uses it as glucose, and it goes into the cells, and it's utilized as fuel. Once all the cells are filled up, it can't take any more glucose. The body sends it back to the liver and converts these sugars into glycogen. Glycogen is where we store excess fuel for later on in life. Glycogen, once all the stores are filled up, the body converts it into triglycerides, where it goes into the blood and gets stored as fat. So when I talk about sugar, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, alcohol. Oh. And there's some other theories out there, and that looks like it's coming to fruition, that if you have high cholesterol, it may not be that you're producing too much cholesterol. It may be that your liver isn't recycling the old cholesterol. And we get people on a healthy diet and clean up their liver, many times the cholesterol drops. And one theory is that the cholesterol is now being able to go into the cholesterol receptor sites in the liver and being recycled. Another reason to stay healthy. Because when I went to chiropractic years ago, I wanted to help get people well. And I realized that chiropractic is amazing. Bones out of place, muscle spasms, joints jammed up. You put the bones back in place. You open up the nerve supply. You get the brain talking to the body. It made perfect sense to me as to being a viable healthcare alternative. And then I said, wait a minute, how else can we get the body healthy aside from lining everything up? Let's get the diet straightened out. I remember studying nutrition way back when, working on my first degree in nutrition, my BS in clinical nutrition, and I was blown away. And the more I studied, the more I learned, the more I went, this makes sense. Chiropractic is like tuning up the car, and then adding nutrition is like putting good gas in it. You got to do both. And people come to us sometimes, and they just want chiropractic care. They have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling. In a car accident, if the car was damaged ever in an accident you were in, you were damaged 100% of the time. So if the car was damaged, you were damaged, always. So what do we do about that? We fix the body. Anyone who's ever been in a car accident, the sooner you get to us, the better, by the way. Because the insurance companies are going to say this. They're going to say, you waited 3 weeks, and how do we know the injury was from the accident? You weren't hurt if you didn't go right away. You can have up to 6 months before the pain shows up. But the insurance companies will argue, and that's their big argument. You didn't go soon enough. So the sooner you get to us, the better, folks. But even if it was 50 years ago, it's better than waiting the 50 years in 1 month. Get to us as soon as possible for car accidents. So people say, I just want chiropractic care. I don't really care about nutrition and my diet and my health. That's fine. Some people come to us and want just nutrition. That's fine too. However, if you come into our offices, the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge, we want to check your spine. And if we find something wrong, I'll tell you this. Listen, you just want nutrition, that's fine, but I also found this. So my recommendation would be to do this, and this. Whatever you decide is up to you. I don't argue with patients. I've learned over the years. I can't convince somebody. It's like arguing politics on Facebook or something. Has anyone ever changed their mind because of it? Oh, that's a good point. I think I'll do that. So I don't argue with patients. What I try to do is give you obvious, objective, empirical evidence showing that there's an issue. And whatever you decide to do, I support that decision. And by the way, if you do come see us, whether it's nutrition or chiropractic, the things are not going to get better overnight. Depending how long the problem's been there will determine how long it's going to take to fix it. And that's why I recommend at least Super Greens and Essential Source every day, because those are the minimum amount of nutrients you should be taking in every day to keep the body as healthy as you possibly can. Why wouldn't you want to keep your body as healthy as possible? It's relatively inexpensive. It tastes good. It's easy to take. Travels. It's powder. Travels easily. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but it's always your choice. So we got to get the body healthy, and we got to get those free radicals out of there. And as you get older, it's more important. Numerous human studies, a case of arteriosclerosis, only oxidized cholesterol plays a role in the disorder. So cholesterol itself doesn't cause the problem unless it gets oxidized, and that's the low-density lipoproteins, the LDLs, the bad cholesterol, as they call it. So that's why it's important to keep the cholesterol low, and this is the interesting part. If you're keeping the cholesterol low and you're eating a good diet and your liver's working normally, chances are you're not going to oxidize the low-density lipoproteins because you're not going to have a lot of free radicals in your body. It's pretty simple. So you're eating a good diet, which means you're not eating a bad diet. That's kind of a better way to put it. And this is interesting too. Last 2 decades, developing countries, third world countries that are developing, have high rates of heart attacks and strokes. And we see this increase in diseases in developing countries that we never saw before. They would die of accidents. They would die of other issues. But rich people's diseases, heart disease, cancer, not that popular is maybe not the right word, common in a lot of third world countries. Now suddenly we're starting to see these diseases emerge in these third world countries. Now researchers fell back on old thinking that poverty and ignorance were the causes. It's not poverty and ignorance. It's affluence that is causing the problems. Most developing countries, for the first time, they're exposed to massive amounts of processed foods and the great standard American diet, the SAD diet, the SAD diet. So they want to become they want to not be a third world country anymore and become more modernized. And in the process, we start getting diseases of affluence. Gout, cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes. They were there, but not nearly as common as they are now because of affluence. So we got to start thinking about if we can go back to how our grandparents ate. And that's a good rule, by the way. If your grandmother could have eaten it, you can eat it. But Dr. Joe, you say don't eat meat. I understand that. But if you're going to eat meat, it's got to be the type that your grandmother ate. What would that be? We have a word for that in today's world, which we didn't have back then, and that's called organic. The word organic didn't exist. Well, it existed. I mean, it wasn't utilized, 50, 60, 70 years ago because everything was organic. My grandfather, I remember, is Italian. He'd plant marigolds around the outside of his garden because the marigold kept the bugs away. He'd plant garlic in between the plants, in between his tomatoes. It kept the bugs away. The soil, everything was composted. You didn't go to the store and buy compost, buy dirt. He couldn't I'm sure my grandfather's alive today. He couldn't comprehend buying dirt. Like buying water. It's like it's a concept. Who's going to buy water? There's plenty of water at the tap. Well, tap water now has chlorine and fluorine and other toxic chemicals and waste products and even medications. We can filter out a lot of junk. And believe me, municipal water is amazing what we have in this country. but it can be better. And if I take, cholesterol medication, birth control pills, that washes off my body, goes down a toilet, gets recycled, and we don't have a way to filter that out of our water quite yet. Our filtering system hasn't gotten that sophisticated. So is it small amounts? Absolutely. It's minuscule, but it can be cumulative too. So things that our grandparents would have never even dreamed about, buying dirt, is now something we do on a regular basis. Buying wood chips. I'm going to go to the store and buy wood chips. Just chop up some wood. And by the way, FYI, if you have gardens, a great way to garden is you can call up any tree service that chops down trees, and they have truckloads of wood chips. They don't know what to do with them. They'd love to give them to you for free because otherwise they got to pay to haul them to the dump and get them dumped. So they will deliver wood chips to your house. And if you have an organic garden, this is a good way to do it. Lay down 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches of wood chips on top of your garden. A lot less weeding. The wood chips compost, great place for worms to survive underneath. And as they compost, it creates a natural organic soil. And my favorite is that you don't have to pull weeds. What you do is you plant your whatever you're planting, tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever, move the wood chips away, bury it when the stem is long enough, and then fill in the wood chips around it, and the weeds don't grow up as much. It's kind of a neat little trick, and it's free. But I digress. So we're developing in this world first world diseases in third world countries. So as we get older, we have our ability to create antioxidants, or the antioxidant defense system is not as good as it used to be. So we're producing more free radicals. Our antioxidant defense system isn't what it used to be. And so now we're more susceptible to getting diseases. And this is a lot of nutrition. This is where you need to step up to the plate and say, I got to take care of myself. And as a chiropractor, you got to realize this when it comes to heart disease and stroke. The brain sends messages down the spine, out the nerves to every cell in the body. As the spinal cord sends out a nerve, there's also blood vessels wrapped around that nerve. So if you injure your spine, or injure any joint really, you can be pinching blood vessels as well as pinching nerves. And if you're pinching nerves and blood vessels, it could be a bone pinching nerve, could be inflammation at the joint site, it could be a muscle spasm. If you're compressing these nerves and blood vessels, whatever on the other end of these nerves or blood vessels are not going to work properly. Interesting, isn't it? And so when people come to chiropractic for chiropractic care at our offices, they get adjusted. Say, Doc, the circulation of my legs is feeling better. Circulation of my arms is feeling better. Circulation to other parts of the body is working better. That's because we're not only pinching nerves, we're pinching blood vessels. And now if you have oxidized low-density lipoproteins or oxidized polyunsaturated fats causing plaque to build up in the arteries and you pinch the blood vessel, you've got the perfect storm. So not only is it a chiropractic issue, not only a pinching nerve issue, it's also a pinching blood vessel issue. And then in our offices, we include the nutrition as well. And then we also want to work on your digestion because it's not what you ingest, it's what you digest. So if your stomach is pushed up against your diaphragm, if the diaphragm is spasmed, if the colon is spasmed, we may have to massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm to get the whole thing to relax. And that when we do that, we stimulate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nerves speed you up, parasympathetic slow you down. And so we can stimulate the nervous system, part of the nervous system that calms you down. That's why getting your shoulders rubbed feels so good. It relaxes you. Because the spinal accessory nerve that controls the trapezius muscles is a parasympathetic nerve. And so by getting your shoulders rubbed, you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. It relaxes. What does this have to do with heart disease? Blood vessels can relax when the parasympathetics kick in too. And so it's important that you get the body into a state of relaxation. Working, adjusting the organs, putting a hot towel across your abdomen can help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So in our office, we work on the chemical, we work on the physical, which is to pinch nerves and blood vessels, and then we work on the nervous system, sympathetics and parasympathetics, and then we work on the digestion. And again, if you come see us, and we want every one of you to come see us, because it's a good idea to get checked. But please understand, it's not going to happen. In most cases, you're not going to get better overnight. Most patients understand that every now and then a patient comes in and says, well, I've been there twice and I still have headaches. How long have you had the headaches for? Well, 23 years. You give up your diet soda yet, which we're going to talk about next? No. Okay. So you got to work with us, guys. We're not miracle workers, and I can't make any guarantees, but my doctors are pretty darn good. You got to remember, they're my doctors. They take care of me. So talking today about heart disease, it's not just for old people anymore. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, we would love the opportunity to be your doctor. So if you want to make an appointment, go to my website, drjoe.com, and we'll set you up a time to come see us. We have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. If you want to get supplements, the Super Greens, the Essential Source, the B Complex, if we have time today, I don't know if we're going to have time in May, we talk about how things can kill off the bacteria in your colon. I touched on that with glyphosate, weed killer. But if you start killing off the bacteria in your colon, that can affect how your body functions. So we have a probiotic, vitamin D3. Next time you get your blood work done, I want you to check your vitamin D levels. Very seldom do I ever meet anyone who has normal vitamin D levels. And we have a supplement, Dr. Joe's Vitamin D. We also put vitamin K2 in there because D and K2 help build bone mass, keep the bones healthy. So if you're taking D, throw in a little K2, why not? But D is wonderful for the immune system. I'm sure in the next couple of weeks I'm going to do a show on the immune system because cold and flu season. We're going to talk about what you can do to keep the body healthy. Nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast has a beta-glucan. There's different types of beta-glucan. A beta-glucan in nutritional yeast has been shown to help reduce, in children, a half a teaspoon a day, reduce the risk of cold and flu by 50%. And if you do get sick, reduce the severity by 50%. Wow. Quarter teaspoon, half teaspoon nutritional yeast a day. And it tastes great, too. So we got a lot covering. If you want to listen to this and other shows again, go to my website, drjoe.com. And it's there 24 hours a day. We have well over 1,000 podcasts. We have audio, which is SoundCloud, and then we have the Dr. Joe Show, which is the video and or the audio, and you can watch it or listen to it, and the SoundCloud is downloadable. If you have questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, which I think you should, by the way, stop suffering needlessly. Don't be one of those patients that comes in and say, why didn't I do this sooner? I'm so sorry I waited so long. drjoe.com. It's all there, and the supplements you can order right there. We also have an Amazon account, too, if you want to order from Amazon, but you can get it from our website. And any questions, you can always call us. The phone numbers are on the website, drjoe.com. We want to help you get well and stay well. And I say it so many times, if you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. If you play sports, no one survives playing sports without getting hurt, ever. No one ever has, no one ever will. Now, why do I say that about sports? Because if you're a sports person, I don't want you building up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you building up strong muscles around straight bones. And so if you play sports, running, football, kayaking, whatever it is, and things are out of place, you build up strong muscles locking the bones out of place. We want to build up strong muscles around straight bones, and that's where my team of doctors do so well. And we work with a lot of professional athletes, amateur athletes. A lot of my co-hosts here on the radio station and TV come in as patients. So it's kind of fun. People come in. With radio, nobody knows what we look like. It's funny because, if you're watching me on TV, that's different. But on radio, no one knows what we look like. And say, is that the guy? Is that the girl? Yes, that's them. So it's kind of fun. And everyone says no one ever looks like they do on the way they sound. Everyone says I sound short. I'm about 6 foot tall. So if you meet them at the office, you'll kind of get a kick out of it. Anyway, the website, drjoe.com. Come see us. I really want you to. And bring your kids. So many kids have problems, and when we fix them early, they grow healthy, and life is so much better. And when they don't get it fixed, it becomes a big issue. All right, so we're talking about why heart disease is no longer just a disease for old people. It's now for young people, too. And we know what's causing it. High-fat diet shuts down the antioxidant enzymes in your blood vessels, and folks that are middle-aged have problems. So again, when we start looking at this ketogenic diet with 60-70% of its calories coming from fat, short term, yes, you stop burning glucose, you start burning ketones. Ketones are great, and it's wonderful. But long-term problems are now starting to emerge because people have been doing this for a long time. The one thing that has stood the test of time when it comes to nutrition, and believe me, if there's a better way to do it, I would tell you, and I'd be doing it myself, is fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Those are the things that work best for long-term and short-term health. So a diet mainly consisting of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. I do about 60% of my diet raw. I have a salad at least once a day. And a salad's a real simple thing. I just take some organic lettuces. I cut them up with a scissor because sometimes you eat them, it flops all over the place. I'll make a salad dressing. I usually add some apple cider vinegar to it, a little bit of olive oil. Add a little water if you want to, if this vinegar is too strong. And then I'll add oregano, for example, which is antibiotic, antiviral, and antifungal. I'll add garlic, which helps kill viruses. I'll add ginger maybe if I want to get crazy, go for an Asian flair. I always add a little bit of nutritional yeast. Every day I take a little bit of nutritional yeast because the beta-glucan in nutritional yeast helps with my immune system. It's also a great source of B vitamins. So nutritional yeast, and then sometimes I get crazy. This is where I get nuts, folks. I may take some sesame seeds and throw it on the salad. Or if I want to get really nuts, I'll toast the sesame seeds. Put them in a dry frying pan, just keep flipping them around until they get a little golden brown. Throw it in your salad. Tastes great. Actually, tastes a little bit like bacon, I'll be honest with you. You could do almond slivers. You could do toasted almonds if you want to. So there's plenty of things you could add to your salad. And if you don't know what to eat, I have a great book. It's called Eating Right for the Health of It. And that book tells you how to change your diet. And it has well over 200 recipes. And so it's a great guide on how to change your diet and what to eat. Because people say, well, Dr. Joe, I don't know what to eat. It's here on my website, drjoe.com. We have a lecture that I did called So What Can I Eat? And there we talk about a whole hour, breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks, breaks it down. I got to cover this before I run out of time. Glutamate is now causing long-term damage. What the heck is glutamate? You might know it from something called monosodium glutamate. Yeah. Monosodium glutamate. We have glutamate receptor sites. We thought it was in the nervous system originally, but it's everywhere. And what happens is when the glutamate activates these receptor sites, it generates high levels of free radicals, and that causes the inflammation. Studies have shown a single dose of monosodium glutamate caused dramatic rise in free radicals and lipid peroxidation, oxidation of the fats, lining the blood vessel walls in experimental animals. How many times do you get exposed to MSG or glutamic acid on a daily basis? A lot. It's used as a flavor enhancer. In your tongue, when I went to school, we were taught there's sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. Those are the 4 taste buds you had on your tongue. Well, I always thought, well, what about like something like a steak? A rich flavor like that, what we call now savory. Well, there was no taste bud for that. Well, we don't know. Let's go on to the next chapter. And we just moved on. Well, it turns out that recently, relatively recently, we found another taste bud. And it's called the umami taste bud. No kidding, that's a word. Umami taste bud, and it's savory. And glutamic acid stimulates those taste buds. That's why it's a flavor enhancer. So that's why if you just stir fry up some vegetables and add some salt to it, not very flavorful. Add some monosodium glutamate to it, now it tastes good. It's activating the umami taste buds. But it turns out that this high concentration of glutamic acid causes damage. It's in processed foods. People consuming high levels of processed foods are probably getting this MSG in their body. And there's many different names for foods that are producing high glutamic acid content. Autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed vegetable protein. In my book, Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a whole chapter. I think there's over 40 different names where you can get MSG from. And one of the things you think about is headaches. But it's causing neurological damage. It's causing free radical reactions. It can oxidize low-density lipoproteins. A lot of stuff going on, folks. So you really want to stay away from those monosodium glutamates. Shown foods high in glutamic acid or glutamates can raise glutamate levels in the blood 25-fold in adults and 50-fold in children. And it gets into something called the blood-brain barrier, and it can get directly into the brain. Where do we get it from? Meats, especially red meats, some nuts, especially peanuts, cheeses, condensed and dried milk, soy foods and drinks, even mushrooms. Some people get headaches from mushrooms because of glutamic acid. Super high concentrations cause problems. The other problem is most of us are deficient in magnesium, which helps moderate the glutamate receptor sites. How about that? So if you're low in magnesium and high in glutamate, which a lot of us are from eating processed foods and meats and peanuts, it can cause some real serious issues. So folks, I'm almost out of time. If you're just tuning in, you missed an amazing show. Go to my website, drjoe.com. This show will be on there, audio and video. And you can watch it over again, listen to it, send it to your friends. Follow us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, because a lot of times we'll do live lectures and we'll stream them on Facebook and Instagram. And give us your email address. Send me your email address to drjoe.com. And the reason I say that is we send out newsletters, we send out specials. Many times we'll have supplements. We may have a special sale running, free shipping, a discount. And we send it out to the folks who are on our newsletter list. So make sure you send me your email address. I'll never give it out, I promise. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're serious about wanting to get well, and I want you to be, make an appointment to come see us. Even if I know this show goes all over the world, we can always do a phone consultation if we need to. Go to my website, drjoe.com. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We want to be your doctors. My team of doctors are waiting for you. And we want to check your nervous system for neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, muscle weakness. We want to check your digestive system, acid reflux, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, burning, because we may have to adjust or physically move the stomach down a little bit, or basically massage it to get it to relax. And then we want to get you on a good diet. Our goal is to alter as many places as we can in your life to make you healthy. If you want to get the supplements, the minimum amount of nutrients every day is Super Greens, an essential source. Please, folks, start there. Go to my website, drjoe.com. If you get on automatic reorder, there's even discounts. We're doing everything we can to try to make this accessible to you. If you go to my offices and pick up the supplements, you save the shipping cost. drjoe.com. Again, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge, a chiropractic office. Folks, thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to For the Health Bit. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 Eastern Time on WSBRadio.com and on a WSB Radio app.